Hey everyone, so I went to a horror convention last weekend, and I actually picked this up. This is Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein on VHS. This is the edition that I used to rent from Blockbuster when I was a kid. This is the movie that got me into classic comedy. It was a continuation of my exploration of the Universal monsters. I remember just that flathead, green-faced Frankenstein monster in the back instantly caught my attention. And I feel so happy to finally have this in my collection that I thought, and this is probably, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein is not only one of my favorite movies, it's also one of those movies that I own the most copies of on various formats. So I thought this was a good excuse to sort of go through my home media collection for Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein. So, yeah, this was put out in 1991, 1992, sometime like that. It was at the same time as the Universal Monsters Classic Collection. You know, those ones that we all remember from the VHS days with the great cover art. And, yeah, this is what sort of got me into classic comedy. Like, Abbott and Costello led to the Marx Brothers and the Three Stooges. This is easily one of my all-time favorite movies. It's the perfect mix of horror and comedy, and it's the ultimate Halloween night movie. It's such a blast. It's a lot of fun. Yeah, hands down, one of my favorites. So, let's take a look at the rest. So here we got the first VHS copy that I actually owned for myself. This came out towards the end of the 90s, early 2000s. It has the Comedy Legends banner at the top there. This is when things were changing over from analog to digital, and it actually matches up with this DVD edition. These came out around the same time. They re-released it on video the same time that they put it out on DVD. And what I love about this VHS is the fact that it was during that period, so there's a lot of added value to it. They're trying to beef it up to compete with the DVD, and the tape has not only the theatrical trailer at the beginning, but also a Woody Woodpecker cartoon. So it kind of feels like a night at the movies in the 1940s. It's a fun little presentation that you get in addition to the movie. This DVD, which came out at the same time as all the other Universal Monster DVDs, it's loaded with bonus features. There's a great feature commentary on there and a documentary, all of which have been ported to pretty much every subsequent release of the film. But this is where it transitioned into DVD, and this is where it basically transitioned into the digital era, and more or less this was, despite the fact that like the menus have changed over the years and stuff like that, this is the sort of standard home video release that has been duplicated through the years, now even on Blu-ray and in various box sets. And actually, the copy of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein that I owned came as a box set, Abbott and Costello Meet the Monsters. And you get pretty much all of the movies in there, Invisible Man, Jekyll and Hyde, The Mummy. Pretty much the only exception, if you were to include it, would be Abbott and Costello Meet the Killer. It doesn't usually get packaged with these movies, but I've always kind of considered it part of the series. It's got Boris Karloff, so. And Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein has been released so many times, not just as single editions, but as part of collections. I actually don't have the first edition I owned of it on DVD. That was part of the Best of Abbott and Costello collection. I gave it away to my brother. But I also own it as part of the complete Universal Pictures collection. It comes in there on a double feature disc. That's all the Abbott and Costello movies. The thing that's interesting about that one is it's different from every other version that I've ever seen released. It includes the real art credits at the beginning. When the Universal Monster movies got re-released to theaters in the 1950s, they were put out by a company called Real Art Pictures. And the version that's on the complete Universal Pictures collection actually has that logo at the beginning. It's really weird. And it's actually a pretty clear version of the movie. It might be the best looking version on DVD. But Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein is one of those movies that's been released a dozen times in various box sets. Not just Abbott and Costello, but the various Frankenstein, Dracula, and Wolfman Blu-rays that have recently come out all include this movie. I probably have enough copies of this movie, and even like the Blu-ray edition includes a DVD. I probably own enough copies of Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein that I could start giving them away in gift cards or using them as drink coasters. It's ridiculous. And here's the Blu-ray version, which, again, uses the old poster art just like all the others. This was put out for the Universal 100th anniversary back in 2012, and it ports over most of the bonus features from the previous versions. It's got the documentary, the commentary, a lot of cool stuff. It's a very good transfer. It's beautiful, but this is one of those movies that Universal cheaped out on. Some of their catalog titles they don't bother making menus for, so it's one of those discs that you put it in and the movie starts playing right away, and then when it finishes, a side menu pops up while the movie loops. But this one actually, like most of the Universal 100th releases, it's got the little factoids on the inside of the slip and, where it falls in the timeline of Universal's history. So, again, very cool. This is one that it was a instant pre-order for me. And that's obviously the disc that's duplicated in these sets right here. So, I have probably 4 copies of it on Blu-ray, all the same disc. And then this right here, this is from the 80s. This is the Encore edition on Laserdisc, which is just great. I think it's 1987, something like that. What I love is that a lot of the descriptions on the back cover of these movies, it's duplicated across every version that ever came out, and all of them feature the same weird mistakes. They referred to one of the mad scientists incorrectly. This one not only has an accurate plot description, but goes into the backstory of Mary Shelley of all things. It's a very thorough explanation of the movie and what it's about. So, but yeah, this was actually a gift from my brother, and I'm very happy to have it. It's one of those just great little novelty pieces. I don't collect a lot of Laserdiscs, but because they're mainly conversation pieces, I use them as decoration with the rest of my collection. So, but yeah, I'm glad to have this one. So there you have my Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein home media collection. Pretty much the only format I don't own it on that I would love to have is film. I'd love to get one of those Super 8 digest or 16 millimeter prints from back in the day. But yeah, it's one of my favorite movies. I own a lot of copies of it, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you all next time. Cheers.